All right, Chairman Collette, we are ready to start the meeting.
Kelly, since everyone appears to be here, those that aren't here, hold up your hands. No. Oh, there we go. All right. So I will call the meeting of Blue Ash Planning Commission meeting of January 7th to order. We will, the opening ceremony, Pledge of Allegiance, if you'll follow me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America
and
to the republic for which it stands,
one
nation,
under
under
God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Item number 3 is the review and approval of the December 3rd, 2020 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, moving right along here. Item number 4, our action plan for tonight is the final development plan for a new medical office building and site development at Summit Park in the Summit Park District. Who will be speaking for the Cardinal Engineering Group? Is that who's here tonight to speak? Donald Stegman or?
Yes, I'm Don Stegman with, we were as that put down as the applicant.
Okay.
Development group will be led by Shane Shoulders and his group for the architects of Perkins will do the presentation. So I'll turn it over to them because they're going to do the presentation.
Okay.
Yes, I'm Stephen Anson with Perkins & Will. We're the architects.
Could you speak up just a little bit, please?
Yep, absolutely. Is that better?
A little bit.
All right, sorry about that. Yes, so my name is Stephen Anson. We're the architects for with Perkins & Will, representing the proposed project. So give me just a second. I will share my screen and we'll get started.
And as Steve is doing that, I'm David Collins. I'm the principal in charge of the project for Perkins & Will, and I'll be mainly the presenter tonight, but I know Shane wanted to say a few words to start the process.
So we'll have a few things to run through. We'll, as David mentioned, we'll do a little introduction, project narrative, and Shane can kick off about the project. And then we'll go into the site plan, the floor plans, and the look and feel of the building, both on the outside and the inside. And Shane, I'll kick it over to you.
Thanks. So I'll just walk through our site selection process. I'll leave the design description to Perkins & Will. We've been in the market for years. So looking at the macro Cincinnati area for multiple years, started this site selection process probably 6-8 months ago. We had several sites in the area that we looked at. We were really driven to Blue Ash. This project is a co-development between my company, Kenner Holdings, and Cross Development. Cross and I both primary office in Dallas. The secondary office is actually located in Blue Ash. So we've been there a little over 12 months. And so we were driven to Blue Ash by recommendation. And once we did our site selection criteria, demographic analysis, bed need analysis, population, drive time, all the boxes checked for Blue Ash. And then really when we made our physical site visit to specifically Summit Park, we knew we had the right site. I think I'll stop there just to keep it brief. I don't know how much time we have. After the narrative on the architectural and engineering side, we'd love to answer any questions you have on site, tenant operations, employment, any questions that you may have.
Well, okay, I'll go ahead and start. Again, my name is David Collins. I'm principal with Perkins Will. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Fantastic. What I'd like to do is kind of go through the project narrative, but maybe step back a second and talk about the operator, Nobis Rehab Group. The main person with Nobis is a gentleman by the name of Chester Crouch, and Chester couldn't be with us tonight. But Chester has been in the rehab business basically his entire life. He was previously with a company called Reliant Rehabilitation Partners, and we actually designed 8 rehab hospitals for them in the Texas area. Chester now is the main CEO for Nobis, who is partnered with Shane and Kenner Cross Investments to develop this project. And they're rolling out a series of these rehab hospitals around the country, and they've chosen Cincinnati for one of these locations. As their architect, we've developed a 1-story and a 3-story prototype that would fit in general locations. They're always trying to be fairly close to a major hospital system. And I believe this sort of checked the box like you were saying, Shane. So this is the 11th hospital that is being designed so far for Nobis. And this is a 3-story hospital. This is a self-contained, independently licensed 40-bed rehab hospital. There's 3 floors. The actual beds, there's 2 20-bed inpatient units on the 2nd and 3rd levels. It's about 49,000 square feet. The first floor, as we'll get into a second, is basically a lobby, waiting areas, administration, human resources, business office, things like that. The dietary suite with the dining and the kitchen, and then all the back of house support spaces that you would normally see in a hospital, large storage areas for material management, some obviously MEP spaces, the main dock, and spaces like that. On the upper 2 floors that we'll show you in a second, each contain 20 beds, as I discussed. This hospital, though, is expandable to a 60-bed hospital. So that's 10 additional rooms on the 2nd and 3rd floor. There would be no expansion on the 1st floor because the dock would stay and be intact. On each of the rehab floors, there is a therapy suite with a physical therapy gym, and obviously a nurse station, speech therapy, all the equipment storage that you need for all the different equipment that they use in physical therapy. When we really look to place this building on the site, and maybe we go ahead and go to the site plan, Stephen, if you don't mind. Stephen's doing the computer work because I'd really mess it up. We really talked about the physical therapy area and what kind of view it would have. And so it was important to us to think about potentially placing it like we have here. If you can kind of point to where the physical therapy glass wraps around, that corner of Carver Woods and Parkview, that has a direct line of sight, to Summit Park. And that was very important to us in how we place this hospital, because that's where these patients go to every day and work hard to get back to hopefully their original baseline of what they had before they had an accident or a stroke or something like that. And let me say also, this is a rehabilitation hospital. It is not an acute care hospital. The only ambulances you'll see will be transport ambulances. There will be no live ambulances coming and going from this facility. It'd be transporting from an acute care general hospital to a rehab hospital for care without sirens on. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that. As we kind of go around this, while we thought it was important to put sort of what we call the street side up against Carver, so that the physical therapy really would have a great view. The inner side, where all the parking is the entrance side. And if Stephen can sort of show the drive-up court for that. We've worked hard on this design. There's no curbs in that area. Everything is a level situation that gradates up, feathers up. And then as you enter into the drop off, you can easily go into the lobby through a vestibule where Stephen's pointing to right now. As we get further into this right now is going to have about 102 parking spaces, which is, we found out, is pretty much perfect for this 20-bed hospital. That's enough for staff, for visitors, you know, and well, staff and visitors really. And as this hospital does expand, Stephen, if you can show how it would expand on the site, it merely fits above the loading dock area. So the original kind of, I'd say, beige building would be the first build. There could potentially be an addition in the future that would be in the gray box that Stephen is putting right there. That grows into the loading dock area as it would be built right now. Below that, on the right side of the entrance, is what we really kind of call a rehab garden. Now, the rehab garden is composed of a trellis, and the trellis is wood. And if you can remember this, because when we get into showing you different perspectives, we really are trying to capture some of the materials that you did use on Summit Park. And the trellis being wood, we'd like to use the same stained wood that you did on that beautiful park that was designed. This rehab garden is basically for patients to come down to work with physical therapists on all the different conditions that they might encounter as they navigate the outside world, going up ramps, walking on just grass, walking on granite or gravel, those kind of things that they may have to just literally relearn how to do. So that's an outdoor physical therapy space, but it's also well landscaped, and it's going to also have a beautiful trellis with benches below it for patients to sit and take a break. So it's a very nice designed feature for the whole hospital. Does anybody have any questions so far? If you could go all the way down and show where the future parking would be, Stephen, as this might grow, and we don't know if this would grow to 60 beds ever, or within 5 years, but it certainly wouldn't probably do so in the first few years. But we have designated how to increase the parking per code and per what we think we'll need really for this building. So this gets up to a little over 140 parking spaces on the site. But I think you can still see that we're not tied up against any of the property lines. We think this building, the parking sits very generously in the site. And we think it's located up against Carver Woods to have the best views for the patients and the therapists that are working there. So if you can go to the next page, Stephen. So this is the first floor. I won't spend a whole lot of time on the actual floor plans unless you're interested. We can dive into more detail. But where the hand is currently now, the entrance is to the right in a long vestibule. The vestibule is there, and as we try to make it as much of an airlock as possible, because this prototype design is going in several different locations from Milwaukee down to Texas. So they're different conditions, and we're trying to keep it pretty similar to each other. So the airlock really makes sense, especially in the northern states. And as we discussed in the summers in Texas, you need an airlock as well. So the main sort of yellow area is the lobby. The reception desk is to the left as you come in, so you have an easy direct line of sight. In the upper left, Stephen, yep, that's the administrative suite with all the offices, conference rooms, work areas, things like that. If you can point to the employee entrance real quick. So this is where the employees would come in. Just as they come in, you can see a couple of locker rooms with large toilets and showers for the employees. You need those but that also is a code requirement. There's a large staff lounge to the right of the lockers. And then we get into medical records and business office and things like that that are behind basically the reception desk. Directly to the north of lobby are the 2 elevators. So it's a very easy line of sight for visitors that come in. They can check in and go directly up to the nursing units. To the right of the elevators is the dining area. Now the dining area is really sized appropriately, I think, for some of the patients to come down, but also large enough for visitors and family to eat there during the day. To the right of the dining room is a servery, and that's all. The servery in the dining room have very nice finishes. And then behind that and to the right of that is the kitchen. So the kitchen and all the storage and dishwashing and such. Everything in the gray you see, the largest block is what we call materials management, all the storage necessary for linens and just different items that are used throughout the hospital. There's clean linens, there's mechanical, and then to the far right, if you can pan over, Stephen, you can begin to see the dock area. If you can keep going to the right, Stephen, yeah, you can see the dock area. And the dock basically is a large, very open dock. We do have a generator in the dock yard, and then obviously our dumpster, but both those have enclosed fences. So it's a nice sized dock for trucks to maneuver and get in. This is not a raised or a lowered dock. This dock is at grade. So just to note. Landscaping really has been proposed to blend in with the overall neighborhood design. So we'll be working hard with our landscape designer to really blend in to what you've already created. And I think that's important to note. If you can go on to the second floor, Stephen. Okay. The second and the third floor are pretty similar. The beds are in blue and they're going to be exactly the same on both floors. There's 20 beds per floor, which in rehab terms, that's sort of a sweet spot of how many it's best to take care of per nursing unit. The nurse station is in the very center, and behind the nurse station are, the main support rooms, I would say, clean and sold utility, med storage and things like that. In a rehab hospital, you're required to have a lab. There's a lab on this floor. And then behind or close to the nurse station on the third floor, there'll be a pharmacy. Now, the green area is the large open gym, physical therapy gym. And on this floor, if you can point, there's some rooms that are called an ADL suite. That's activities of daily living, where people have to go back in and learn how to reuse a kitchen. There's an ADL toilet. The exercise of getting in and out of a toilet is an actual physical therapy exercise that they relearn how to use. And if they're in an accident and they go to a wheelchair, they have to learn how to pivot and do all those kind of things in those spaces. There's also speech therapy you can see on the bottom left. And then if you'll go to the third floor, Stephen, yep. You can see it's a very similar layout. The gym is approximately the same size. One thing I did not mention, there's a lot of space in the middle. That you can see that's white space and also kind of a purplish space. That's the actual day room. And this is really a concept that was originally designed by Reliant and then carried over to Novus. And it's really, it's their special way of taking care of patients. And it also brings down the average length of stay typically for a patient by almost a day. Typically, day rooms are enclosed rooms where you go in and have some activity. It could be occupational therapy. It could be just working with a speech therapist or whatnot. This day room is designed to be out in the open. What that does is it puts the rooms at 22 feet away from each other and creates a really large, what we call a living room with furniture in there where physical therapists are working with the patients, but also family members are asked to come visit with their family, with the patients, excuse me, in the day room, not in their rooms. So they actually try to get the patients out of their rooms and into more of a social situation, and also do physical therapy and occupational therapy in that area as well. And so that's actually adding a lot of square foot to the actual hospital, but this operator, as well as Kenner Cross Investments, really feels that's what's best for the patient, and it really creates this open living room feel in a much nicer environment instead of the typical hospital 8-foot corridors that you've all seen. So if we can keep going. When we started really thinking about how we could design the exterior of this, we really looked at Summit Park, and it's really a beautiful park that has been designed. I don't know if anybody was the designer on this committee, but it really turned out beautiful. The stonework is tremendous. We began to, and we do this for all the different locations that we go to. We try to blend into the context of where we're going. And so when we tried to figure out what would be a good compromise without copying anything here, we looked at some of the brick, we looked at some of the limestone, we looked at the grayness of the metal and how that really worked together, and the wood, and how the wood brought in really warm tones. So if you can go to the next. So this is our attempt at trying to blend in using some of those materials. If you can kind of see, the architecture is fairly modern, very simple. We don't try to have too many, jumble things going on. I'm not speaking correctly very well, but you can see the base is made of limestone. So that's something that we actually haven't done at any other project. That's definitely adding cost to the project, but we thought we really wanted to try to blend in with, Summit Park. The second and third floor are mainly a cream brick. And then we do have the bands going through as concrete bands, and then all the metal would be the same color as what you have at Summit Park. So this is definitely on the Carver Woods Drive side. If you go to the next rendering. And this is looking, I guess, as you're driving north on Carver Woods, you can begin to see to the left the fence that we have around the dock. We're blending in with the limestone. And then we have large pieces of glass at the very end of the building. Those are at the end of the nursing units or end of the living rooms. And then we have sunshades as a unifier element that are also would be in that gray ACM color. If you go on to the next. This is looking from the parking lot. You can see that the second and third floor physical therapy rooms are really jutting out, creating a really beautiful, I think, architectural look. The entry is well defined, and it again is using that sort of aluminum grayish, light grayish ACM color. So that's the exterior. I think right now the next slide, we're actually going to look at some of the materials that we're talking about. So the cream, we're suggesting the cream be approximately this color. I think we've submitted a sample board. The limestone would be the limestone would be a smooth limestone, stacked stone as shown. The cast stone band would be approximately this color as well. These are taken directly out of catalogs. So these are the samples that we'd like you to consider. The aluminum metal would be this color. And then the trellis that we would have as a wood trellis in the Rehab Garden would be this stain color. And we think this is pretty close to what you have, but we'd like to actually get the true stain color that you're using at Summit Park. And then the glazing would be this as well. So these are our color palettes at this time. If you want to go to the next one. I don't know that we need to go through a lot of this. You can easily sort of pick out the elevations. The north elevation is right up against Carver Woods Drive. We've worked hard to create a horizontal and a vertical banding effect that's not so, I guess, overtly in your face, but actually is very soft, but still has nice shadow lines throughout the building. Physical therapy is almost all glass. We've really worked hard to make that sort of the jewel of the project. And then you can see the south elevation is the internal elevation from the parking with the entry, and then the two sides elevations you can see where we've really tried to put large areas of glass in sort of the day rooms and the physical therapy rooms, and the smaller horizontal glass are obviously the patient rooms. But the patient rooms have a lot of glass. They almost have wall-to-wall glass, which is pretty unusual for a hospital. So this is pretty upscale for any kind of a hospital. If you want to go to the next one, Stephen. So we're starting to look at some of the interior renderings. This is the lobby. You can see the vestibule on the left. You can see the elevators on the right and the receptionist right there straight ahead. Very, very simple and clean. Yeah, go ahead, Stephen. So this is starting to look at the day room. The nurse station is obviously right ahead, but you can see how wide the corridors are. We have a slight different color of carpet up against the rooms that have accent walls at the doors. A very simple look, but very open and welcome and inviting. If you want to go to the next one. This is really looking from the nurse station all the way to the end where you have floor to ceiling glass at the end of the day room. And the furniture is typically always not bolted down by any means. I mean, it's there that can be moved around, and so that physical activity can happen in any area, really, and they can adjust the furniture as they sort of see fit, depending on whatever kind of patient might come to this facility. Go to the next one. The patient rooms aren't generously sized. They're much larger than code compliant patient rooms. But again, the idea is to not make the patient so incredibly comfortable in the room that they don't want to get out into the day room. The day room really is where the activity happens. They're going to get the most interaction. They're going to get the most therapy. And it's important for them to go out into that room if they want to improve and get back to their baseline. And again, that over time, between Reliant and Novus, they found that day room does reduce the average length of stay for these patients, which is a tremendous way to treat them. Now, is this the last slide, Stephen? I think this is the last slide. So with that, Stephen and I and Shane would love to open it up to questions and anything we can do to work with you.
Well, thank you for that presentation. I think that you've done a good job of describing the elements and how it all comes together. So we're going to take a look at some of these elements, and of course you saw the comments from the city engineer or staff regarding a couple items. I guess specifically the banding around the docks, that you might need some more architectural elements on that. It's a long plain wall. Was their comments, and I think that it sort of appears that way.
I think that's a great comment. That's something we can put a header on there to really blend in with the bond that we've sort of got at that level anyway. I think we can work hard on that.
Okay, that's just the one thing that stood out in their comments, and I will defer to my commission members for their questions to you at this time.
Thank you.
So, John Dillon, you have anything?
I thought that was incredibly thorough. I don't have any questions right now.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Steve?
A couple questions. Have we talked with the condo developer that is right to the west of where the parking lot is? Because those condo owners are going to be overlooking into the parking lot. So I think we need to make sure that in this development, we've got good looking landscaping so that our condo development will not be looking at blacktop.
Shane, can you take that one?
So we have not, I guess, had direct conversations. A mutual, I guess, master developer that sold us the land that would facilitate those conversations. I know that any upgrades in landscaping that need to be made, we'll definitely look at and work with the adjoining landowner to account for. I do know that we have designed the lighting, so the lighting package has taken that into account. Our adjoining land uses, but we will make note of the landscaping and have those conversations.
Mr. Richter, this is Steve Dragon with Vandercar. We're co-master developer with Al Nyer. We have been communicating with both developers, have shared the site plan with the condominium developer. They're very comfortable with the arrangement. And we were, of course, very happy to see developer continuing to use MKSK on their landscape design team. We think the landscaping is all going to be very compatible with the rest of the development and with the park. And we think everyone's very comfortable with the two projects coexisting side by side.
Great. I mean, that's good to hear that you've been in conversation with them, because we'd hate to get down the road, have this take off and then our condos, our individuals in the area have a problem. So that's glad to see that you're in communication with them. One of my pet questions I always ask with the landscaping that you're going to put in, and you did a nice job of displaying what plants you're going to use and where. Do you have underground sprinkler systems set up for these plants so that they stay looking in year 3 as good as what they do when you first put them in?
Stephen?
I was actually going to ask if Kevin was on the call or not. I apologize. I don't have the final landscape fully developed yet, but I would imagine that if we need to put a sprinkler system in, that we can do that.
I just tend to think that, everything looks good for the first year or two, but then you get down the road and without a sprinkler system, and in our area in here, our falls tend to be very dry, and it really helps to make everything pop. And we've got it throughout the rest of the park. So just would hopefully that there would be sprinkler concessions thought about in here.
Yeah, I expect
Absolutely.
we'll have sprinklers. As David mentioned, there's the operators, I think, has 11 of these going on. And I believe that all of them have sprinkler systems. So
Great. Just a little clarification. In looking through the documentation that we have, you speak about it being a rehabilitation hospital, and then in another item it's defined as another type of building or structure. This is a hospital, not just a I guess a care center.
Absolutely. This is an independently run and licensed rehabilitation hospital. Yes, sir.
And then is there any communication that has to be done or gotten from some of the surrounding hospitals like Tri-Health or Mercy or any of those for putting additional beds in a geographic area?
No, I'm sure there's conversations going on between Novus and those hospital systems, so that those hospital systems are aware that this hospital will be built. And typically, general acute care hospitals do not try to do too much rehabilitation or some of the what we call subacute services in their hospitals, because hospitals general hospitals cost a lot more per square foot. So that's how these subacute hospitals come about. Rehabilitation hospitals, psychiatric hospitals, and the like. So they'll be in constant communication, I'm sure.
All right. And then this is geared for patients to be in, and therefore that's why you don't need a whole lot of additional parking spaces. People aren't coming and going.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. We're easily meeting the code requirements. The parking that we're showing is really based on what Novus has seen their need for a 40-bed hospital as sort of a sweet spot. And you can easily see where the future parking will be. If for some reason they need additional, they can do, say, the right side before they, add on the additional 20 beds in the future, if they need a few more spots.
All right. The screening material that's going to be on the roof, hiding the various equipment that's up there. What is that? What is that type of material? How is that going to be handled?
It's a metal panel system, and we'd like it to be the same color that you have on your Summit Park. So the same color as the ACM at the entrance canopy. Did you want to say something, Stephen?
Oh, no, that's pretty much what I was going to say. And then I was just going to say it has a ribbed texture to it, so it's not flat.
Right.
Is it a painted metal or anodized, or what type of metal are you thinking about?
The pre-finished powder coated.
Okay. Again, I'm thinking about that for the condo owners across the way, what they're going to be looking at. In the exterior, the facade, you were talking about the limestone and the brick. And are these, is it just a veneer, or is it a good sized piece of stone? I mean, and I'm glad you're using the stone to blend in with it. That's great. I'm just wondering what the quality is of those stones going in.
It's not a thin veneer, but it's not a full block either. Obviously, we don't need a full block because we're not going to have stone on the inside of the walls. I think it's a normal 2-inch thick. Well,
it's actually, it basically mimics brick, so it's about 3 5/8.
No, that's true. Yeah. Using a different stone here. Yep.
And then is it a panel or is it actual stones?
It's laid up by a mason. It's actual cut stone.
Great. So I can make sure that I've got all of my questions answered. The dumpster area, where you've got those set up, has somebody really looked to make sure that the Rumpke, our dumpster provider in here, can actually get into those without tearing up your blacktop? Or are you going to put concrete coming out from the pad so that you don't end up with those big divots in the blacktop after a year?
Yes. So Cardinal Engineering has run truck turning radiuses for us, and that kind of has helped work out some of the layout. And then, they're also specifying durable materials for the dock area specifically, as you mentioned, so that the heavier trucks don't damage the parking area.
Is this being designed so that it will always have to be this type of use, or could it eventually be redone into an outpatient type facility?
Well, you'd have to gut the interior, but this could easily be converted to a medical office building if there wasn't a need for a rehab hospital anymore. The width of the building works well for a medical office space, or really any kind of general office space. Or it could be, like you said, it could be an outpatient rehab facility. But the walls as they are, the rooms are going to be in place with the plumbing. and the toilets for each room. So that would have to get reconfigured. But I can tell you, after practicing for 30 years, that does happen, and you can reconfigure these type of facilities for other uses.
That's my thoughts and questions.
Okay, Steve, Tricia, do you have any questions?
Just a couple. And Shane, I think you actually started to address my first concern as I was looking at the plans, was just ensuring that the site lighting that's along that west side against the condos, that you're being real sensitive to the fact that we're going to have residents right there. And in looking at the site lighting and the photometric plans, it looked like you were doing a pretty good job of it. But as you keep going forward, making sure that you're paying attention to that.
Absolutely.
And my other question, it looks like I saw in one of your renderings that you've got some building signage on the Carver Wood side, and I could see in plans that you've got a monument sign on Parkview Drive. Are those the only two signs? Do you have any plans to have signage or other kinds of wayfinding as you try and enter the site?
No, those are really the only two signs that are currently planned. We do have, as you mentioned, the monument sign, which on the site plan is located here along Parkview. So it does provide visibility for people driving there along Parkview. And then we have the building sign out here on Carver Woods, which is visible from this intersection and as you're traveling southbound on Carver Woods as well. So we thought just the two, and we did consider a monument sign closer to Carver Woods and Gateway. But with the future roundabout, we were kind of worried that doing something that would be pushing farther and farther away from the street corner and wouldn't be very purposeful.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling that as I'm looking as well. I think that makes sense. Is the intent here to try and blend, you're working real hard with your materiality and things like that, to try and blend with the rest of the site? Is the intent to try and match the look and feel of the Summit Park, the various zones signage as well? Like thinking about your monument sign, not so much your building sign or your logo. Obviously, that is what it is.
I definitely think we can look at that. You know, there's a fairly standard sign that Nobis does use for their hospitals. But as far as materiality, I think we can definitely look at trying to blend that. And I would imagine that the monument sign would be made of some of the stone and brick. So
typically what we've done with the monument sign is the base of the monument sign matches the base material of the building.
Yeah.
So in this case, it would likely be the limestone that forms the base of the monument sign, and then the lit signage cabinet comes in on top of that.
Got it.
But if there, again, I mean, as David said, if there's a different direction that we need to go to fit more with the community, we can certainly look at that.
Well, and I imagine that Steve probably has seen a lot of this just based on having partnered all through this process. But I know there was a pretty good sized development signage package that came through primarily for the commercial pieces, but that may also trickle through the remainder of the development. Those were my two biggest questions. You guys all covered the rest of them, so I can yield back to the rest of the crew.
Okay, Tricia, thank you. Mike, you got a list there?
Couple of quick questions, comments. In the future, if you add the cantilevered second and third floor, what is going to be the clearance beneath for the loading? I'm looking for the loading dock, and particularly where your dumpsters are. And if you do bring that out, one thing about the Rumpke trucks, sometimes they're not real careful, and I'm sure you guys are looking for adequate clearance, but just a comment that it did not appear from your elevation that there was a significant height difference at ground level up to what would be the lower portion of that cantilevered section. So just something you may just want to make sure that you've got plenty of clearance for not just your loading dock, but also for the Rumpke or whomever would be coming in to get the dumpsters. Because that corner of the building could be a hazard if a possibility. That's just a comment. Second comment, can you go back to the elevation of, I think it was the south elevation? Yeah, right there. Either one of them, it doesn't matter. Just go to one of the elevations. You know, to me, that long area that you do have an accent stripe on, you know, the 3 accent stripes, but it's very plain looking. And I don't know if there's a way potentially to work with the city architect. I know he'll be reviewing the building design and everything, but potentially around some of the windows, below the windows or whatever, maybe some darker complementary brick as opposed to that. I'm not an architect, so I can't tell you. All I know is just from looking at the elevations with all of the stone and the brick that it was just kind of plain to me, very plain. Not much architectural color differentiation. I'm not saying it needs to be done. Maybe the stripes would be a little darker, but if you guys would just work with the city architect in cooperation with our architectural standards and just take a look to see if maybe a little more color would add a little more flair to the building.
Absolutely.
And then in the your 146 spaces, I'm assuming that with the additional, you don't even have to show it up there, but with the additional floor, the additional expansion on the 2nd and 3rd floor, that would be more than adequate. But my recommendation is obviously if you don't need it, don't put it in. More landscaping obviously will look better for you, your site
Right.
itself.
Totally agree.
And then whomever is there, do you have access to the civil drawing C 6.0?
I can try to find it.
You don't actually need to pull it up. I just have a couple of questions you can look at later.
All right.
C 6.0, coming out of the building where you have your rehab garden, and then also at the end where there's the employee, there are what appear to be blue lines that run to catch basins, and blue typically is going to designate water. I couldn't quite figure out what it was. I didn't have the detail, and I'm just looking at it on a screen. It may just be a slot drain in front of something that should have been identified as a storm drain, but it sure does look like a water connection to a catch basin, which didn't make a whole lot of sense. So something like it's on the civil site C.6.0 plan.
Those are, this is Don Stegman. I'm the civil for the site, and those are roof drain leaders. So those will be coming out of the building underground for where the roof drains come in and tie into the catch basin.
Okay, thank you. That clears it up totally. Other than that, I think you have a nice plan. It fits in very well with our comprehensive plan and the final plan developed for the whole site there. And I think it'll be a very good addition to Summit Park and the whole development there.
Right.
Compliments to the designers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I also want to make a comment regarding your islands in the parking. I think those are the biggest islands that we've ever seen. And I think that's great because that will soften up the parking lot a little bit. Of course, you're going to have to sprinkler those too because those trees need water.
Yes.
But, great job. I think it's a great plan. We look forward to the construction and everything. But we have a motion for a board member for approval.
I would recommend we send a council and recommend their approval of the final development plan for a new medical office building and site development at the neighborhoods at Summit Park with the 4 or 5 rather conditions that are identified by city staff in the staff report. I'm not going to read them, but they can be included as part of the recommendation for approval by council.
Would you also include a architectural detail enhancement on the various elevations?
Well, the first one says final approval of the building designed by the city architect consistent with architectural standards. I think that's adequate. I mean, they're going to be working with the city architect to take a look at it. And part of our architectural standards have to do with colors and and materials and stuff. So I think that was enough. I was thinking about adding color to it, but I didn't think it was really needed.
Okay. All right, then do we have a second?
I'll second.
Would you call the roll, Tracy? Tracy?
It didn't work for me when I pressed the space bar, sorry.
Okay.
Mike Duncan,
Yes.
John Dillon,
Yes.
Trisha Downing,
Yes.
Steve Richter,
Yes.
and Paul Collett.
Yes.
And can I confirm who seconded it? Was that Steve?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, you heard your verdict here. Hopefully things will proceed as we all hope, and we'll see
Thank you.
something rise on that spot. Not
Thank you for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New
Thank
Year.
you all.
Okay, thank you, members. I think we did a good job there. Hopefully covered everything. Is there any additional business to be handled by staff? Any miscellaneous business? I didn't hear you. You're muted.
You're muted, David.
Yes, sorry, thanks. That's always a good thing to keep me muted. I don't have anything to add, but I certainly always want to give everyone the opportunity if you have any questions about anything going on.
There, Minecraft specifically says you cannot run Minecraft on a Chrome.
I don't know what that last comment was. Who said that? It was okay. Well, all I said was Happy New Year's, and I always want to provide everyone the opportunity if you've got any questions about anything going on. Otherwise, I don't have anything else to add.
To you personally, David, I'd just like to say go Browns.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, go Brown.
I do have one question on a different topic. Seems like the neighborhood is talking now that they know that I'm retired. Is there any discussion going on about Kroger gas going in somewhere out in front of Kohl's or behind where Speedway was?
No, in fact, Paul asked that question the last meeting, and yes, from the staff perspective, no inquiry from an architect or an engineer or a developer or anything like that. No.
Okay.
That rumor's been consistent for 2 months, though.
Somebody's out there talking about it.
Yeah.
Still have no indication whether or not they're going to take those utilities underground. There's a lot of new poles laying along the side of the road.
No, those poles are simply, you're talking about along Plainfield and Hunt area?
Yeah, the roundabout there, yeah.
Yeah, those poles are just simply to move the existing poles back so that we have more breathing room as we approach the roundabouts. So they're not underground.
No, but the utilities will remain, above ground?
Yes.
Okay. Seems like a missed opportunity to get rid of some of that stuff, but it's not my money, right?
Yeah, I suspect the cost of doing that for Duke would be significant, would be my guess.
Okay. I see the car from Marathon's gone finally.
Well, I'm sure you noticed we actually own Speedway, and I don't know if we own Marathon yet or not, but it'll be within days or weeks that we will be the proud owners of that property.
Great. There's lots of businesses you can run there, it's an investment opportunity.
Yeah, I know, like coupon cashing and gift card cashing. And
That's right.
like
That's
that,
right. Lucrative.
So other than that, everything's kind of, I think I mentioned the last meeting, we have taken possession of the Hosbrook property, and you should start to see that getting demolished over the next few weeks. We don't have final bids on that yet, but you'll see that certainly by the end of January.
David, what all is coming down?
So the gas station,
the commercial building just to the north of the gas station, and then the two houses to the west of the gas station. And I can tell you the one house to the west of the gas station was pretty interesting inside. If I see you in person next time, ask me to share some photos I took. It's a fixer-upper for sure. And then to that end, the other thing I can add is I know people sometimes ask about Blue Ash Chili. They have filed a application, and I believe, Dan, have they started renovation or they are scheduled to start renovation of the former Shapiro spot? So Blue Ash Chili will be located next to CVS Pharmacy.
Great.
Nice.
Dan, can you give an update on where they are with that?
I actually don't know. I haven't seen any activity over there.
Okay, but they do have the permit, right?
I'm not sure. Tracy, do you know if they actually have the permit, or did they just, are they still in the application?
The permit's been issued. I think they said they had to be out by the end of April, maybe, of the existing location.
Okay, so you should see some activity. So if anyone asks you, that's what's going on. Blue Ash Chili is locating across the street. So
Great. Maybe they clean that inside up too.
yeah, right. No.
Okay, anything else, Dan, you need to talk about?
I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then I entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll
Or
move.
does it stay here?
Yeah, I'll move it. Move to adjourn.
A second?
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.